welcome to another edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator for the KU School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Today we are joined by KU grad Caitlin Bricker, the Senior Director of Marketing and Strategy at Social Media and Social Studies, and she's in Chicago. Welcome, Caitlin.
Thanks, Steve. Excited to be here.
Now, you pretty much have been in Chicago pretty much ever since you graduated, correct?
Yes, I moved here in 2017, so I'm coming up on my 7-year anniversary, which is crazy.
So was Chicago always kind of your dream location, or how did that come about?
I knew that I wanted to be in a big city. I was between Chicago and New York for the most part. And then I just ended up landing a job in Chicago and moved here and have loved living here. It's a great city to be in.
And you've been with Social Studies over 2 years now?
Yeah, about 2.5 years.
So can you describe a little bit about what you do? I know you are the Senior Director of Marketing Strategy, and you've had a couple different job titles since you've been there. So what is kind of your day-to-day or month-to-month?
Yeah, of course. So Social Studies is a smaller influencer marketing agency. We specialize across the board in terms of industry. So we don't really segment ourselves into one space specifically. We kind of cover a lot of different brands and categories. And my role specifically sits on the business development side. So what I'm responsible for is identifying new revenue opportunities with both our current clients as well as new clients. And as part of that, there's a lot of, I guess, marketing and strategy that kind of goes into my day-to-day, whether it's marketing and strategy for the clients or for the Social Studies brand and kind of how we are showing up in the marketplace.
So I would assume you do a lot with data analytics. Do you crunch quite a few numbers?
We do, yeah. There's been a lot of insights that have gone into my day-to-day. Even before Social Studies, we always start, our strategic planning with research and data collection just to kind of see what's going on in the industry or company or space that we're focused on. So it's definitely grounded in data first.
So when you graduated from KU, are you doing kind of what you envisioned you'd be doing, or did this just kind of come about over the years?
Yeah, great question. I actually was on the news and info track at the J School. So for about 3.5 years at KU, I thought I was going to go into broadcast and that my post-grad would look probably like signing a 3-year contract in a smaller town and doing kind of that path. And my senior year, I realized that maybe I wasn't as passionate about that as I thought I once was. And so one of my advisors kind of helped me figure out where I could pivot. And there was a marketing fellowship at a company called Octagon that I ended up applying for. I was lucky enough to receive that fellowship, and that's kind of how I steered into the marketing path.
And that was through the Tom Murphy Fellowship, is that right?
Yes, the Tom Murphy Fellowship at Octagon.
In Octagon, I know they do a lot with like sports and marketing. Did you kind of find a niche there? Did that kind of inspire you?
Yeah, I was interested in sports journalism. So even when I was news and info, I would try and go film at KU basketball games or get into kind of the sports space because I always thought that that was very interesting from both a consumer perspective and a professional perspective. And so it was kind of natural that Octagon was a sports agency. We did a lot of activation around sports sponsorships. So some of the larger events that I was able to support were MasterCard at the Rugby World Cup in Tokyo, Japan, which was really amazing. We also did something with them at the Open, the golf tournament. We've done things for JBL. So that was in Las Vegas, and they did kind of a music festival, BMW Championship, the golf tournament. So there were a lot of different things that we were kind of able to tap onto and activate within the sports realm, which was really exciting.
And as you mentioned, you worked some big time clients. How long did it take you to gain some confidence, working with those clients, or did that come pretty naturally for you?
I would say 50-50. I definitely wanted to be a sponge around my peers and my colleagues and my manager to try and figure out how they kind of walked the walk and talked the talk. So I definitely learned a lot from them. And I think I gained a lot through direct experience. So events that I was able to attend or meetings that I was able to sit in on. So a lot of observation and then kind of applying those skills when the time came for me to step up and be able to lead.
Can you share some keys to like successful client relations? I mean, what are some one or two tips that you would provide, just to maintain communicating with like a um, high level company?
I think it's always important to remember that it's a people first business. We're all humans at the end of the day. So, especially when we're sitting in remote environments, I know I'm fully remote. So, most of the time I'm doing what I'm doing now, which is talking basically to my computer screen and whatever picture is on my computer screen if they so choose to be on camera. So, I think being able to kind of like build that bond and humanize the relationship first is really important. And from there, obviously, you can tap into your expertise. Mine specifically is within the digital and social space, working with influencers. So I can always bring in those areas of expertise, but I think being able to connect with them on a human level is what really sets client relationships apart.
Yeah, well said. And I know you have some experience with guerrilla marketing. Do you have any experiences you would like to share, like some successful marketing campaigns?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would have to like dig deep into what I was doing with Bumble. So I worked with Bumble on a contract base for about a year in Chicago, and it was very like city specific. So they had hired different representatives across their key cities to activate events and do some guerrilla marketing. We definitely did some fun pop-ups, which I think it was great to just connect with the community. I was newer to Chicago, so it was a great way for me to get to know different restaurants and different communities within those spaces that we were kind of able to interact with. But it was very much like event based, which was cool.
And I noticed on Facebook, I think you got married in November 2022. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Those wedding photos were amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank
My
you.
daughter just got married last September, so wow,
Congrats to
both of
her.
her.
Yeah.
So I know in marketing it can be very demanding. Have you kind of found that work-life balance, or is that something you still work on, or how's that going?
Yeah, it certainly ebbs and flows, I would say, within the agency space. Obviously, we work across a lot of different clients, so that can have its own challenges, but also reap a lot of benefits. I would say something that I've learned throughout my career is asking those questions about culture and work-life balance are super important in the interview process. So if you have the opportunity to talk to not only the person who would be your manager, but maybe their manager or some of their direct reports, I think asking about what work-life balance means to them and what it looks like for them is really telling. I would say at social studies, it's definitely prioritized, and I really appreciate that. So of course, we're doing our due diligence to get our work done throughout the week, but I think everyone really is able to set healthy boundaries, which is priority for me.
I know you've been a great resource to the School of Journalism with the young, as a member of the Young Professionals Advisory Board, and I know you're involved with the KU mentoring program. Why do you think it's important to have a mentor? What role do they play?
Yeah, I think networking is it's talked about a lot, but I think in application it's obviously so valuable, not only from a professional elevation standpoint, but just um, from I'm going back to this like human concept, which I know I kind of spoke to with the clients too, but I think the ability to consistently be a student and consistently learn from your network, whether they're people who are above you or even people who are still in school. I think that's why I love being part of the mentorship program, is because I get to network with these students who are going to be leaders in their individual careers and spaces one day. And I think the ability to be able to connect with them and learn from them is something that's really valuable to me.
Yeah, great advice. Kind of related. I know we're a couple months away from graduation. What what advice would you have for the class of 2024 as they enter the workforce?
I think something that helped me a lot, and I mentioned this before, is just the ability to be a sponge, to say yes to situations that you're offered, and then just soak up all of the information you can, and then figure out how you can apply that down the line. And that may be in the next month in your current role. It may be something that you go back to years from then and kind of re-reference. But I think the ability to just educate yourself and soak everything up, and then figure out the applicable ways to bring that into your day to day is so beneficial and will help you go so far.
Also, hey, I know you're on a tight schedule. We started this new feature about a month ago. It's called Fast Five. So I've got 5 quick questions for Caitlin.
Okay.
So when you unwind, relax in Chicago, what are you doing for fun?
This is so lame, but I go on really, really long walks. Chicago is such a walkable city. So my husband and I will literally set out and walk like 8 miles and just see the city by foot. And it's one of my favorite things to do.
You've worked with a lot of big brands. What brand resonates with you the most? What is kind of your brand that you must have connected?
Current client would be Pinterest. I think that I remember being on the wait list for Pinterest when I was in high school, when it was just launching and they hadn't opened it up to the public. And then I think there was a point in which people kind of stopped using Pinterest or stopped thinking about it on a day-to-day basis as somewhere they can go to for inspiration. But I think it's kind of on the rise, especially with Gen Z. So I've loved being able to work with them. In terms of past clients, I would say Michelob Ultra was definitely one of my favorites.
It looks like you've done a lot of work with social media. What is your favorite social media platform?
I use TikTok way too much. I get into the doom scrolling. I'm on it for hours. Yeah, it's great though.
As you might know, tonight's senior night for KU basketball. Who was your favorite KU player during your time at KU? Or do you have a favorite player now?
Ooh, I liked Perry Ellis.
Or else?
Yeah.
You've probably been involved in some job interviews as an interviewer. What is one job interview question that you think needs to go away?
I think the one that I always think about the most when I'm prepping for interviews is like, what is your strengths and weaknesses on the weaknesses side? Because I think that's always an interesting one to figure out how you can spin and still show your strengths at the same time when you're answering it. But I don't necessarily know if I think it needs to go away. It's just the one I probably think about the most.
No, well said, because yeah, we talk about that one a lot. Hey, Caitlin, I appreciate you taking the time to visit. I always like to close with a cheers. So have fun in Chicago, and congrats on all your fine work. Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me. It was good to see you.